Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source. We help contractors build great teams. My guest today is Peg Buehrle from ActionCOACH in Columbus. So, Peg, tell me about what you do as a coach and who you work with.
Oh, good question. And thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. I guess two questions is what do I do as a coach? It's interesting. I've been a coach for 20 years now, Paul. And even at this moment, when I bring on a new client, I'm generally their first experience as a coach. They've never experienced it and they never know what to expect. So I say my job as a coach when you bring me on is multifaceted, right? So it's very customized to results. We outline what results do you want? And then we create a plan on how to get there. And that is generally we work with business owners and their teams. So when we go in,
Okay.
we say, okay, we're going to start working with the leadership team, the business owner, and then we might dive in deeper with different individuals to help grow. And what we can work on is everything from process to leadership skills, a lot of leadership skills, I have to say, planning, making sure that everybody's doing the right thing at the right time in the right way. And we do that. Coaching, I always say, is three things. It's about education first. What do we need to learn? What do we need to teach? Application. Now that we've learned it, how does that apply to our situation? And how can we make sure when we apply it, there's results? Because the third thing is implementation. We meet with our clients and follow up with that accountability to say, well, you said you were going to do it. Did you do it? So the best way to, I guess the analogy would be we're like a personal trainer or like think of a football coach. We're on the
Right.
sideline, we're not in the game, and I can tell you what to do, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, then it's
Right.
waste of time.
Well, it's like the gym membership never got you healthier, right?
Exactly. That's it. Mhm.
So, question, I've been a coach for like 50 years, and one of the questions I always struggled with was how do you help a business like a craftsperson? Because most people in construction come from some kind of craft, whether plumber, electrician, carpenter,
Correct.
whatever, and help that make that transition to an entrepreneur, which is an entirely different mindset.
hmm Well, so you're saying like there's when you walk in and you're talking to an entrepreneur, there's going to be different strategies than a craftsman
Right.
or
So you've got
yeah.
somebody who's like a
Mhm.
carpenter. He's built his business. He quit his boss. He's now got, a remodeling company. He's got 5 employees, never done that before. How do you get him to make that shift from working as hitting a hammer to where working is coming up with strategies and ideas?
Yes. The first thing we do, especially with any new business owner, is it's all about mindset. So we have to teach first, going back to that education, like we have this six steps to building your business and understanding every one of those steps. And generally, when we are working with business owners and growth, the first thing we work on is, you're not going to be doing the work. You have to stop doing the work. You have to work on the business. That's a mindset shift. And you have to allow somebody else to be the craftsman now. And you have to delegate in the right way. You have to train, you have to inspire, and that goes back to leadership skills. So we first want to teach on how do you build a business, then how do you do it through people, then how do you become a great people leader so you get results out of them. It's definitely a mindset shift when they're in that way. And once they make that shift is I'm going to get production through people versus myself. Once they get that, that's when we see the growth.
Now, how do you teach leadership? That to me would be tough to teach.
Well, ironically, I'm about to do that after this call. I have a person who is on a project in a construct. Ironically, they're in construction. The reason I'm starting to work with this individual is they're very influential. They have some raw skills, but what they were doing is they were starting to create dissension in the team. And I talked to her, it's a female, and I said, I think you have a lot of talent. I think you don't know what you don't know. So we're going to teach her how do we take this situation where we're super busy, the client is upset with us, and we have to do production and we do it in a positive way where we're developing others, inspiring others. We do it with a plan and we help others. And so it's just taking a piece at a time. And we have all kinds of tools of leadership that we provide. So imagine you're a coach and we're like, well, we have emotional intelligence. We have the DISC behavior profile. We have how do you manage generations? We have how do you delegate? So there's all kinds of tools that you should master as a leader. Depending on where you are and where you're going to be, will be the tool you need, just like anything else that you're building.
Right. Now, how do you teach them, this sounds like great, to value that? Like, I always have, I probably when we were at the RA, told you I had a client once and, we were working on strategy and I said, you don't value what we're doing because I took off work to do this, right? They don't get
Mhm.
it that that's the work. So how do you help, I guess, inspire people to like get what's the important versus the urgent?
Oh my gosh, I actually had that question. I had this person, same thing. They go, I was working on all of this strategy, and they go, well, when are we going to get started on working? I go, that was the work.
Right. That's
So
right.
what we say is your job as a coach, and this is any leader, when people don't do things, it's usually two reasons. They don't have the vision or they don't know how. So a lot of times when I have a person that's coming in and they don't quite get it, I might pair them up with an example, or I might have them meet someone to increase the vision of what could be because they can't picture it. And the
Mhm.
bigger the vision, remember that will create a dissatisfaction for you to want to change. It's why it's like those home shows. The reason that they do so well is people go and they see the possibilities. And as a
Mhm.
salesperson, when you're going in and you're selling, let's say a remodel, you show them the design and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought that would be good. So increasing that vision of what could be, but through an example or showing it
Well, I'm
and
sure you're big into peer groups too, aren't you? Helping people
yes,
with peers.
we have a network. So when you not just we work with Remodelers Advantage. I'm one of the Remodelers Advantage consultants. I'm blessed to be that. And some people I don't just work with design build, but I have like heating and cooling, even lawyers, all kinds of we have plumbing. And so we match people up throughout hey, why don't you talk to Sam here? And that increases your vision and they get, oh, and so we create a network for them to understand the possibilities.
Right. Because my experience is a lot of people in the construction industry, models or tradespeople, don't really share their issues and problems with peers. That's not a normal cultural thing. Does that make sense?
Correct. Oh, agreed. And it was interesting you said that, Paul, because I was talking to a couple plumbers. It was a lead and a manager. And I talked to them and they said something because I said, I want you to talk about how you apply this at home. And I was working with the two of them together because they're a team. And they said, Peg, what's good about this? And they're tough guys. And I say that meaning they've been in construction and they're not going to necessarily share feelings.
Right.
And they go, we've never been able to feel safe in sharing how we feel and the impact of our house and then, of our home and our home life to make it better.
Mhm.
The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So we want that home life to be good. So when they're coming in, there's not that drama, right? And we're
Right.
impacting the rest. Like we
Right.
impact everything, not just the business, not just, it's your life, it's your family's life and your coworker's life and your business. It impacts it all. And they said, we've never taken a moment to realize, oh my gosh, I need to be a little vulnerable and tell you and trust you. And boy, does that make a difference. And that's what you need in coaching. You got to come in and say, I'm willing to change. I want to do what it takes. I'll apply it and I'll implement it. And if you do those things, you're going to soar.
I think trust is really important. And a lot of people that are bringing up in the trades, trust is something they don't share a lot, right? I mean, it's not the macho thing to do, for lack of a better term, right?
I
You
like the
just,
macho. That's it. It's the macho.
you keep your problems to yourself. You got a problem, I don't hear about it. Just get the job done. And
Correct.
that doesn't help build a team, right?
Right, right. And that doesn't help build you. We need to start with you. And what happens is the more you grow, and I always say the more you learn, the more you earn.
Well,
So
and
if
one guy once said, and I totally believe, you got to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. But that is not a common belief in this industry.
yes, and that's the mindset shift that we talked about at the beginning. It's really working on you and knowing. I liked what you said when you were talking strategies and they're like, when are we going to get to the good stuff? And I'm like, this is the good stuff. We're giving you the
Right.
secret sauce right now. Like working on yourself. That's where we start. So when I meet this individual today for our first coaching session, we're going to lay out where are we? Where do we need to be? What is our plan? And it's going to be starting with what can she learn and how can she work on herself?
So give me your ideal client and whether you determine how do you determine whether the person is coachable or not?
And I usually can tell somebody is coachable in the first couple sessions. I mean, really, are you willing, are you going to listen, right? Are you wanting growth? Do you believe that it can be something more than it is, right? Are you dissatisfied that where you are is not where you want to stay? So we have to have some
Mhm.
kind of dissatisfaction of like, I know I could be the next manager, or I know I could have a crew of three, or I know I can run a company. So you have to have that. And sometimes I'm going to go back to that vision. You don't know it until you see other people doing it and they're just like you.
Right.
And it creates a
Well,
dissatisfaction.
a long time, people have to understand the why is way more important than the how to, right? I mean,
Right.
I wrote a book. One thing I said in my book is the difference between a motivational problem and a training problem. Put a gun to your head and you can't do it, you have a training problem. Put a gun to your head and you can do it, you have, a motivational problem. And
That's
most
it.
problems can be solved if you got enough reasons to fix it, right?
There you go. And that goes to that dissatisfaction, right? Gun to your head. I better get it done. I don't have a choice. I can't take the easy way out. I'm going to do tough things and it might be uncomfortable, but I'm going to grow from it. And that's what I signed up for.
Right. Well, I probably coached a couple thousand clients myself, and the ones that were the easiest to coach were the ones that had the biggest why, the most motivated. It could have been
Yeah.
money, it could have been family, it could be health, it could be whatever it is, but they're highly motivated. When someone doesn't really care, it's hard to get them to do anything.
Oh, yes. We would call somebody who doesn't care uncoachable. Until you
Right.
care, you're not going to achieve anything until you want it. We'll
Right.
show you
And
how to
so,
get it. Yeah, for sure.
so tell me, before we get off here, who's your ideal client?
So the ideal client is somebody, I'm going to just go back to the why. They want to grow. They want to, and they have the capacity. I also look at the business model. And so I'll go in and say, okay, if this company, where are we and what's the possibilities? And I can do that analysis pretty quick of we could do a lot of things to grow, but you got to want it. And then you got to
Right.
be willing to put in the work, right? I'm going to get uncomfortable, and that would be an ideal client. So it's like a lot of people will say, "Oh, I need them to be making this big company." We coach whoever's willing to and ready to coach, but you
Right.
got to be wanting to grow, willing to change, and get after it, and have the mindset to say, "This is what I want, and I'll do whatever it takes."
So you don't have like a minimum size of construction company to work with?
It's funny, Paul, that I had a coach, Coach Donnie. She still coaches us. And when I got, when she put me through training 20 years ago, she said, you're going to have the ability to help whoever wants help. Don't you dare tell them no. Figure out how to help them. So
Because
that's what
I've had sometimes I have companies with 3 people that are way easier to coach than companies that have 20 people.
I mean, we have all kinds, like we have a 12-week program, training program. We could put you in. I mean, so we've customized different products to help meet somebody's, because we got to have a return on investment. So if you're a small
Right.
company, you don't necessarily have that much of an investment compared to a bigger company, but we figure out how to help people when they want help.
Well,
So that's
how do you charge and how does that work? So people decide they want to work with you.
So here's an example. We have a 12-week management class, a 12-week business class. We have a 12-week leadership class and a 12-week sales class at different times. And we do them throughout the years. There's a team of us coaches, and that is a price point of $1,700 for the whole 12 weeks for one
Wow,
person.
that's very inexpensive.
It's
Absolutely.
very inexpensive. Now, and then we also can coach. What we do is a monthly retainer, and that could be anywhere from a couple thousand. We have somebody paying 10,000 per month. But the
Right.
difference is how many people you're coaching, how big the company is. So that's
Right.
based on the customizable coaching program that we've set.
And
So
so if somebody's watching this podcast and says, I really want to talk to Peg about coaching, how do they get a hold of you?
I think the best way, I'll give you two ways, is my email is Peg, B as in boy, Uehrle. That's Peg Burley at actioncoach.com. Or you could call me, you could text me at 614-582-8346.
Now, the good news is, Peg, if they call you, they're going to get you, right? They're not going to get like
Correct.
other people. Right.
Yes,
Because a
correct.
my issue with some coaching companies, it's sort of like you have this huge company and there's a sales guy that convinces they're awesome, then you get passed down through other people and you don't get you don't get, people like you to actually do the work, right?
Correct. And we do have two other coaches in our firm, Michelle and Pete. For now, I gave you my number, but if for some reason you would like a man versus a female or Michelle, like you can pick your coach because we're
Cool.
all one team. So right now it's just me, but if you say, hey, I like you, but let me see the others, that's perfectly
Okay,
fine with
no
us.
problem.
No
Okay.
problem. We all work together.
Well, Peg, thank you very much for your time. And I would say if you're looking for a coach, I believe that every good company has a coach. I guess I'm prejudiced because it's always easier to learn from other people's mistakes than your own. And the School of Hard Knocks is the most expensive university in the world, right? You can
I
stay in
like that.
business as long as you can afford to pay for your mistakes. So thanks, Peg. I really appreciate being here.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.